If it wasn't for the rise of O.J. Simpson, from ghetto kid to superstar, we probably wouldn't care so much about his fall from grace, nor about the stories of so many people in the black community who started with nothing, became somebody, and then right before our eyes lost something priceless, the respect of millions.
There have been many disgusting statements made recently concerning allegations of improper conduct on my part.
But are we, the loving fans, expecting too much out of our heroes?
Marion Barry ran an organization.
Why do we have a different standard for blacks?
He ran an organization in each ward
for blacks is lower?
Got the voters out.
What in the world are you talking about?
Are we looking in the wrong places for the right kinds of role models?
You need to take a good look at that before you make a statement like that. Because everybody here, I don't care what you do, deserves a second chance.
When black heroes fall, it's something worth talking about right now on Rolonda. I don't think there's a person in this audience, whether you're out there at home or here in the studio, for months we have been bombarded with the O.J. Simpson case. It has been dominating the headlines. He is one of our heroes allegedly gone bad. Our first guest addresses black issues just like this one every night on his popular Los Angeles talk radio show.
790 KBC Talk Radio. The time is 10:23. The number is 1-800-222-KABC. This is Larry Elder. We're talking about fallen black role models. What's going on with people like Mike Tyson and Michael Jackson and O.J. Simpson? Are they in fact role models? Why is it that people connect blacks with role models in the first place? 790 KBC Talk Radio. Mickey, Larry Elder.
Good evening, Mr. Larry Elder. This idea about black people and role models. You know, I'm always scratching my head trying to understand where this is originating from, and I think it's probably from the national media. Mm-hmm. The national media is always telling people that, well, the problem in the black community is that lack of role models, and unfortunately, a lot of people in the black community accept that as true.
Larry Elder is the person you see there doing that radio talk show, and he is with us in our studio. Welcome, Larry. Nice to have you. Very nice to have you. Happening? Are you hearing as much concern on your side of the country in Los Angeles as we're hearing here in New York and all the places in between? Is this a great concern to your audience, too?
Well, Rolonda, that caller was right. Who says these people are role models? There are 30 million blacks in this country. Half of them are adults. Most of them work, pay taxes, are abstaining from drugs, abstaining from crime, are trying to raise their kids responsibly. There are over 1 million black managers and administrators, hundreds of thousands of black doctors and lawyers and dentists and other people who are professionals. Why is it we associate role models with black people? Who's the Jewish role model, the Latino role model, the Greek role model, the Asian American role model? Why is it blacks in this paternalistic way are said to need role models? I find the whole thing very condescending.
But we've got to have role models. I mean, isn't that something that you want for your children?
I would call them influences, maybe inspirations. A role model is somebody who knows you and cares about you. A parent, a teacher, a member of the clergy, a relative, somebody who knows who you are and can influence your behavior. These people are celebrities. They're not role models.
Mm-hmm. Let me also bring in another guest to join this conversation too, Larry. Ralph Wiley is a former sports writer. He has a latest book out. It's entitled What Black People Should Do Now. It's a collection of essays about the curiosities and frailties of African American life in America. He takes the position that Americans do not have a choice in who our role models are. What do you mean by that?
It's my belief that black men and black women are the public sexual surrogates for this entire way of life.
Now, wait a minute. What does that mean?
All right. Sexual harassment in the workplace. Mm-hmm. Did that just start happening 2 or 3 years ago?
No.
Would you imagine? But when did it become an issue?
Well, what you're saying, I assume, is the Clarence Thomas.
Anita Hill. When was the last time daily programming was interrupted for a trial or proceeding before this whole O.J. Simpson thing. It was for the Anita Hill Clarence Thomas Supreme Court hearings, where in the halls of Congress you had this woman sitting there saying words like penis, which is a very scientific word, long dong silver, and these kinds of things. Date rape. When did date rape begin? Did it begin 2 or 3 years ago?
And the point you're trying to make is what?
When did it become a national obsession, or we should do something about this? Mike Tyson and Desiree Washington.
After a black person was caught in the midst of this controversy? Is that what you're saying?
Right. We seem to be the ones that exemplify or become the emblems of what is happening and has been going on for years and years in the society. We sort of like take the burden.
Question.
Yeah, well, gentlemen, I really tend to agree with what you're saying there, but it's kind of like a catch-22. American society for many years now has been bending over backwards to reach out to find black role models in almost any source. Now, people have been raised up on a pedestal, and you have to wonder as to whether it was justified to do so and why it was done to begin with. But now that they're falling, it's kind of like, now what do we do?
Well, let's ask that question. We've got to take a quick break, and we'll continue with that right after this. Up next, we also have an actress who you may all know from stage and screen. She's going to tell us about her toughest role, and that's the role of being a human in the public eye. The first step in preventing breast cancer is awareness. Help protect yourself or somebody you love. Don't miss Rolonda. We're discussing today, if you're just joining us on Rolonda, we are talking about what do we do when black heroes fail. And I think the gentleman here was just asking, what do we do when that happens?
Well, first of all, you have to... I'm sorry, Larry, but you know this is a role model. But first of all, how does one become this role model that he's saying is on a pedestal? What price is paid? What kind of act must one put on? I mean, if you're talking about in the case of O.J. Simpson, and in the second place, everybody says O.J. Simpson. Oh, he's this big famous person. Well, for the 18 to 27-year-olds before this happened, they did not really know who O.J. Simpson was. He's a phenomenon of the 35 to 55-year-old market.
And Rolonda, let me say this, too.
And if Dudley Moore had done this, and they were about the same level of recognition, if Dudley Moore had done this to his wife, and I know you would never have done it, Dudley, but this would not be happening. the trial would not be on every day like this.
Athletes make particularly bad role models. Most of them don't graduate from college. Those that do go to college take Mickey Mouse courses. There's tremendous pressure on professors.
Now, see, Larry,
there's a lot of pressure on professors to pass them. The route to success is hard work and education. Athletes and entertainers have a far different route that is not really capable of readily being emulated by normal people. They're not good role models.
Well, we're going to have that actress respond to you in just a minute who we're bringing on. Before I introduce her, let me just get this question. Yes.
I'm very upset at what the gentleman said, that we had no role models until recently. We have had, African Americans I'm speaking of, role models since the first slave
hard-working
got off
men
the first
and women.
slave ship.
Absolutely.
And down through history. But you know what? It's the establishment, the white establishment, who determines, so they think, our role models. And it's we as African Americans who must make our own role models. Starting now. Forget about O.J. Simpson. Forget about Michael Tyson.
A lot of us already have forgotten about O.J. Simpson.
And let's look on to the people who are doing things. The people are scientists, our engineers, our physicians, our lawyers. The lawyer at O.J. Simpson's defense team.
Cochran. Yeah.
Who knew him?
Right.
He should be a role model,
Rolonda,
not O.J. Simpson.
My father has a cafe, or had a cafe.
Very good point. Very good point.
Had a cafe not too far from downtown Los Angeles. White guy walks in once and says, "Did you hear what your leader said last night on television," referring to Jesse Jackson. My father said, "My leader? Well, who is your leader?" He goes, "Well, I don't have one." My father said, "What makes you think I have one?"
Right.
I'm smart enough to start this cafe and run it for 30 years, but I'm too stupid to figure out what to do with my life.
Now,
it's condescending, Rolonda. It's condescending.
Let me bring in, I know that our next guest is going to have some comments for you on that last statement that you made. You may remember our next guest from Broadway in Dreamgirls, from Hollywood in The Distinguished Gentleman. She was also in Sister Act 2, and even in The Flintstones. And this film, The Mistress.
Honey, don't come on to me. It gets in the way of the work, and I don't want any problems. It's not that you're not cute, not in your own way.
No. Believe me, it didn't even enter my mind.
And in December, she will play the role of a witch in HBO's Witch Hunt with Dennis Hopper. And she's about to play yet another role as Mommy. Please welcome Sheryl Lee Ralph. Welcome. Now, Larry just came out and said, sports stars, actors, not role models?
Well, you know something? What he's made is a very broad statement. Part of what he says has some merit, but there are certain people within both of those categories who are wonderful people, well-educated, well-spoken, and are worthy to be role models to anybody in here, any of their children. There are some of those who are not that worthy, but some of them make themselves very obvious. So, I mean, role models, whether they are black, white, red, yellow, purple, or pink, are important to all people. Whether you make it a big deal for one category, meaning black people, or whether you're saying that other people don't need them, well, that's wrong. We all, no matter who we are, no matter where we come from, there is somebody, somewhere, at some time that we have looked up to and said, yes, I want to be just like that.
That's right.
And that is important for all of us as human beings. Since the beginning of time, there have been role models.
Let me ask you this, though. In our search for role models, what kind of pressure, perhaps undue, are we putting on people like yourself who are in the public eye?
But, you know, the thing about it is sometimes you become a role model just by the nature of who you are and what you do. It's not as though there's some group of people that come up to you and say, okay, you're it now and this is how you have to behave. No, this is the woman that I am. This is how I have grown to be. If there's something good about me that has made other people aspire to be what they believe I am, because usually you don't know who they really are. All you know is what you see and what you read. And usually that has been manufactured and made. What you read in those articles are sometimes shipped out to magazines, thousands of them, on a piece of paper, and that is the person you perceive that image to be.
Part of the PR tour.
And that's why it's dangerous to hold them up as role models.
That's right. Question from the audience.
Yeah, I have a serious question for you. When is enough enough? When is enough that is enough in the household? When does parents say, hey, those are great people out there, they do what they have to do, but the real role model is in this household.
That's right.
I raised you. When is enough enough?
That's a wonderful question.
Wonderful question.
That's a wonderful question. But the fact remains that for something like that to happen, it has got to be the parents that stand up and set that example. Yeah. If you live in the house where you know the mother is the mother, the father and the father is the father, this is the law. You get in here by 10 o'clock because I pay the mortgage, then you know that. But if you live in a household, and many young people do, there is nobody saying to them, look, we get up, we go to school. This is what we do. We get in by this time. They don't have that. If more of them did have that, maybe they wouldn't be looking towards other people to become their role models.
From the audience, absolutely.
But I also believe that because there are so many families being raised only with single parents, that they do look out for a lot of role models.
This is an excellent point. She just said that because there's so many single-parent households, they are looking outside the house for other role models.
So then I think we expect of them the most that they can give to our children so that they can, succeed.
You cannot expect them to raise your kids.
The very thing.
I'm not saying raising. They're a figure out there.
Inspiring?
Right. It's like he said, it's not role models, it's inspiration to them.
Well, but you must take that one thing that you are admiring, like if an athlete goes 64 yards for a touchdown in a brilliant manner, that is what you admire, because that is all you know. That is all you see. You don't. Personal integrity, the very thing that you want to emulate or role model, that will not make you famous in America, and I'm the living witness to that.
Yeah. Well, Ralph, you know something, but I appreciate what I hear you saying in there, too. It's virtues, human values that can be role models that don't have faces, but
right, and
stick-to-itiveness,
it doesn't have to be a parent. It can be, but it has to be someone that can touch that person, and I mean physically touch that person, be it a teacher or whatever. If you start looking at an athlete or an actor or an actress, and there's about the same level of vanity there and egotism in all of those professions, if you start looking at them for their personal conduct, then you have a void in your life. If you have to look, there's a void there that has to be filled by someone else that actually is going to touch it.
Which is really a separate issue. Why is it that we have so many single-parent households? Why? That's a separate issue.
And we'll continue this right after this break. I'll let you